Hi and welcome to Visual Basic Login System. The advantage of this system is it's developed using SQL with all the user details on the database. So if I enter invalid login details, this is what we get because all of the information are on the database. Now I'm going to enter correct data, and there we go, guys. Form 2 opens. Okay. So what I will do now is take you guys straight into Visual Basic Development environment, and we will put one of these together. So let's do that now, guys. Hi, this is Visual Basic.net login system. I'm going to start by clicking on project, and let's select Visual Basic. Let's come to Windows Forms application and give our project a name. I'm going to call it login underscore systems. Click on OK. Alright, our form is ready. I'm going to just extend it that much. That's fine. Let's come to tools and select as follows in the toolbar. As a label, and double click on the text box as well, and a button. Okay, that's fine. That is the button, the text box, and the label. So I will now copy this, select it all, hold Control, click and drag, and click and drag to copy the buttons as well. Select it all, and let's increase the font size. That is fine. I will now enhance the text box, just change it all to multi-line. That is fine, and extend it that much. Okay, let's speed up the whole design process. The first place, let's just change this to password and username. That would be the username, and the other one will be password. Okay, let's speed it all up then. Alright, this is how the system looks right now. The next thing I'd like to do is to maybe create a database using Access. So let's do that in Access now. Okay, right here in Access, I'm going to give my application a name, or the database, let's give it a name. Just call it login system. I'll just save that inside my document. Let's click on create. There we go. So that's the table. I'll just select design view, and let's call that login there, and in there, okay, ID, that's fine, and I'll leave that as my primary key. And right here, just gonna enter username and password. You can see the data type is short text. Okay, what about this? Let's call it admin. And in the case of the admin, maybe we should change that to yes or no. And there, that's my database created using Access. I can now close that. Remember, I have it inside my document right here. Let's close that now. Okay, back in here, we go to tools, connect to database. Let's change this data source. We change that to access data file. Click on OK, and now let's browse for our database. I believe it's right here somewhere, and there we go. That's it right there. Click on open. You can also test it if you want. That's fine. Click on OK. There we go. Now let's go to the data source here. Add new data. and make sure the database is selected. Click on next. Dataset is selected. Click on next, and make sure your file is selected right there. You can always drop this down and select new one. Click on next, and this message is asking you to confirm if you would like to save the database straight into your project file. Click on yes and click on next, and here select the table that you want. Those are the information on the database, and right here select the table, and as it is all selected, click on finish. There we go. Right there, that's your database. Okay, now let's come straight into this Solution Explorer. Say click on the login system dataset, this very one, because we intend to use SQL. If you double click on it, what you will see is this. Alright, that is the login system dataset. If you right click on it, you can always select the query and then click on next, then select which return a single value, this very second option. Click on next. You can write the SQL, or you can always click on query builder, which is right here, and then build your query. So what we want to do now is, depend on what you want to select. I want to select user and admin, column and the admin. Now let's come in here, open it wide so that you guys can see it. Right here, I will now come to where it says count. I'm going to make count equals 1, and you will see that right here, having count. Once I click on the next one, having count equals 1, and group by equals question mark. Okay, that's it right there. And the next one, which is that of the admin, equals question mark as well. You can see right there, that is my SQL query right there. Okay, now that we have our query set, the next thing you want to do is click on OK. Let's check this. That's fine. That's fine. Click on OK. Now click on next. Right here, you want to give your program a name, so we can call that login valid. So that is the name of my query, login valid. Click on next and then click on finish. Right there we have our query, login valid. Okay, we will now create, just right click so that we create another query. Click on next and select the second option. Select which return a single value. Click on next. Now let's go to this query builder. There inside this query builder dialog box, let's select user and password. Scroll right down. Now select count as equals 1, and let's select user login with a question mark equals question mark. Take note of having count equals 1 and user equals question. Now let's have a look at the password. Click inside the password equals question there, and that's the SQL. It's generated for you. Now click on OK. Let's see first. That is fine. Okay, click on OK. Then click on next. Now give your project name. Maybe we'll call that user details. That is the name right there. Click on next and click on finish. We can now return to our form right here. Okay, before I continue, maybe we should come straight to project and let's add form 2. Click on add new form, select Windows form and add the second form, and right there your solution explorer is the second form. Let's go back to the very first form. I'm going to drag this down because right underneath I would like the data source to be displayed. Come straight into the data source right here. If you can't find your data source, you can always go to, I believe it's in view or the window, data source. Right inside the data source you should be able to see all of your information right here. You can always drop this down, or maybe just let's get hold of the grid, drag it and drop it here. There. But there's something we ought to have done. We ought to have entered some value inside the database. Maybe we go straight into the database and enter some value. Right here my database is somewhere. That is my database there. I'm going to double click on it, get it opened. There we go. Click on it, let's enable, and let's add some information right there. That's user. Maybe the password can be, let's just call that text, and the next one can be, and we can just call that poll, followed by the next one. We can call that maybe Tom. There we have some data in there. Save that, close that, and go back to our program. That's our program right here. Okay, just to make sure those information are in here, I'm going to just run it. Okay, those are the data, or those are the information I entered on the database, so that's fine. I'm going to close that now. The next thing I'm going to do is just reposition my form. That much, I think that's fine. Now let's double click on this login details. So right in the login details, what I want to do is to declare as follows. Let's say dim, let's call it log. So that will become equals me equals new dot, now that will be me dot log. There we go. Login table adapter dot, that should be user details. There we go. And the user details in this case is me dot txt password dot text comma me dot txt user dot text. There. Okay, the next thing I want to do now is to use an if statement to validate what's within the system. If log, let's go for is not is nothing, then we want the system txt user dot clear and txt password dot clear, and we can then set our focus. Let's see where we should set our focus on. Let's set it straight onto the user. So let's come back here and just maybe copy this and just set focus right there. So if it's invalid, dot focus. Okay, else let's declare another variable. We can say dim user equals me dot log. Now the log, that should be right here, log table adapter dot like this. I think that the second one is called, let's find, yeah, that's a log invalid. Okay, log invalid, and that'll become me dot user txt user dot text comma that is true. Now if user is nothing, then we want the second form to open in this case, but we might not be able to see this second form. Let's say form2 dot show. The form2 will not show right now because we need to declare some value in there. Else form2 dot, so that will be show here, and here that should be hide. Okay, now but one thing we need to do with the form2 is, let's come into form2 here. So with our form2 open, double click on the form itself, and right up here I'm going to enter public share admin as boolean. Okay, the other thing I would like to do on my form is, let's just open it so that you guys see it. Here I'm going to enter a menu strip. Let's come in here, look for M, and there inside the menu strip here I can enter file. Let's call this open or open new, and here maybe save, and right underneath here we can just enter exit. Now let's say settings, and right here we can call it exit. Right, if you like you can enter more data in there. Okay, so right inside this menu that I've just created, you see the setting. I'm going to double click on that and just enter as follows. Okay, form, I've just created an object there. Form setting as form equals new form. This I'll be calling. Okay, I'll have to call that. Alright, so with the admin I should be able to call this very setting. Okay, now let's go back to form 1 here. Okay, instead of me saying hide, so what I would then do is say dot admin, right there, the admin that I declared equals false, and in here we say dot admin that was declared on the second form, make that true. There. So if I take you guys back to the second form, form 2, look at it right here. If I double click on the form, that is the admin that was declared. Alright, okay, that's the method there. And in here I now created an object. So this is the object that we actually call, that I call inside form 1 right here. Okay, so I can now say in here form 2 dot show. Let's put a show there. Right. Okay, let's run it and see what's going to happen. But before then, let me show you guys the details I have on the database. Okay, let's come into login. Those are the login details I have on the database, which means I can enter any of these and the system will recognize it. We can even add more. Let's come in here and just add another information here. So that's number. Come in here, let's enter 4567, and here what do we add in here? We can just call that maybe Kenya, and here 5678 we can call that maybe Ghana, and here call that Nigeria. Alright, I think that's enough. So that's my database, which means any of these guys with the following username and password can always log on straight onto the system. Okay, I'm going to close that now. You guys can just notice what I've entered in there. Close that and close this as well. I don't need it anymore. Now run the system. The very first one, if you guys can still recall, that was supposed to be 1 2 3 4, and here that's supposed to be text. If we click on this, there we go guys. Now we have our second form opened. Okay, right, that's fine. That is fine. Now the other thing that is left now is, let's come in here and reset those component there. We can just come in here, copy those, that is reset, copy, paste it right there. And what about exit? Let's come right in here and just enter some lines of code for exit. Exit, that's dialog box. So right here I'm going to say I exit equals message box dot show equals confirm if you want to exit, and right here we just enter that and enter log in system, right, and comma message box button, message box buttons. Then we just say yes, no, another comma. Let's go for message box icon dot question there. Now use an if statement. If I exit equals dialog dot yes, then we enter application dot exit there. So that's my exit. If I run this system, maybe I should copy it first, so I'm going to use it for the other one. If I run this system, I can click on that, and that is what you get. You enter invalid data in there, you can always clear and come right here. I say we enter the valid data, and in here that's supposed to be Paul. Click, and there we go. Alright, but in here we need to change this to password. Let's select that and come into the property right here. Let's look for password right there and just enter X there. That is fine, or X, that's fine. So if we run it now and enter the very first user or second user, maybe the third one, and that user is supposed to be Tom. Click there we go, that is correct. Now exit. Now let's come into the second form, drop that down, double click on exit, enter those lines of code for exit. Okay, on the second form I would like you guys to pay attention to this public share admin as boolean false, and my setting, I created a form there, actually created an object there for the form so that I can use that to open up the form, and in here that's the exit. Okay, so guys, with that I'm gonna call it the end of this tutorial. That is how you create a database with a password and so on. But what about this? I really don't want that there, so let's come in here first, back in here, let's go to the form. Okay, make sure you select, let me move it up, you see this very one, log table adapter. Go to the property and right where it says visible, let's look for it. No, select this very one. Okay, come right down where it says visible, make that false. Okay, we don't want to see that, so when you run it, as you can see, it's gone anyway. When you now run it, enter your details in there, and that will be 1 2 3, and login details. There we go. And that's how you create your own login system in Visual Basic using SQL. Bye for now.